Hey, today I want to talk to you about Haggai, the whole book, since there's two chapters. I just want to make some illustrations of it, of like setting the stage for it. I read this today, and like I said, it's two chapters, so it wasn't a large read or anything, but I read the introduction to the book, and the author makes some notations about the people and where they're at. And they're in a time of history where they've been through exile. They've been through a lot. They've just been through so much of being in their land, being captured and drugged from their land, and then they're allowed to return to their land. When they came back, everything was in ruin, and they wanted to start rebuilding. And so they started rebuilding the temple because that was what was first in their life. That was what they knew. That was where they went to experience the presence of God. That was the center of their life. But they had encountered all kinds of problems from the enemy. It came even in the form of laws from the governors, the king, the rulers. They came against the people of Israel to say, stop building your temple. You're not allowed. They became discouraged and they just stopped. They just said, we can't do anything. And they began getting busy with building their own house. And you kind of think to yourself, why would that matter? Why is building my own house a bad thing? And in of itself, building your own house is not it. That isn't the point. The point is that they became so busy and occupied with building beautiful elaborate houses. They were going overboard. They were using their own life to fill the void of what was missing. They had given up on the things of God, and it's not that they didn't love God. They did love God. But they had tried so hard and it didn't work. And they became discouraged and they lost interest. They actually lost interest in the work of God. And so I think that can happen to us today, that we can really have a heart to do things for God, and we get busy doing the things for God, and then we have setbacks, and we have a disappointment, and we have a disappointment. Now, here's something I think we miss in all of that. We become discouraged, and we feel like we have failed, and we hold on to that as I don't even want to try again. We hold on to that feeling of failure, saying, I'm not going to go through that again. It didn't work, so why should I try again? And we look for something. There's a void missing because we're not doing what we're called to do. We're not doing what we want to do, what's deep down inside of our heart. And so we fill that void with other things. And in of itself is not bad. It really isn't. Like I said that, I'm repeating myself, but it's not. It's not that God doesn't want you to have a beautiful home. He wasn't coming to them and saying, let me just kind of go back to that chapter. So in chapter 1, the people, that's what's happened. I set the stage. So then God sends Zerubbabel to them to tell them it's time to build the house of God. And they said, is it time to build your own houses? And said, you've tried to do a lot and you're working hard. You're actually working harder and harder and harder to get more, and you're having less. I mean, there's an illustration of having a bag with holes in it and your money just falling out. You're working hard and not seeing the fruit of your labor, basically. They had become fruitless. The more effort that they put into it, the less they were seeing from it. And it was because God had allowed it. God had allowed drought to come on their land, that they're working hard on their land, but it's not happening. And it was so that God could get their attention. He's basically saying, this is what you're called to do, and I'm not going to bless everything that you're doing because you're ignoring me. And it got their attention, and they heard Zerubbabel, and he basically told them, it's not going to happen overnight. It shouldn't happen overnight, put it that way. It shouldn't happen overnight because this has been a long time of just neglecting the house of God, maybe 16 years. And you can't expect everything just to fall into place. Nevertheless, God says in Haggai 2:19, from this day forward, I will bless you. The people committed to building the house of God, and God said, from this day forward. And it basically is saying, it does matter what you've done, but I'm I'm taking away the consequences. I'm not making you wait a long time. I'm delivering you right now. I am going to bless you from this day forward. And perhaps that's a word for you today, that from this day forward, God is going to bless you because you are turning your heart toward the work of God. And God wants you to have a nice house. He wants you to have so much, and He will bless you. It is about getting your priorities right. It's about putting God first. It's about doing that which you've been assigned to do. What is the task that God has assigned you to do? It's time to do it. It is time to do it. Time is short on this earth, and God needs you to do your part more than ever before. And in this effort, you will see the house of God be built, and God will be glorified. And that is what we're called to do. Called to do is glorify God. That is the purpose of our being, is to glorify God. And we think, what are we getting out of that? If God's glorified, the truth is that we are satisfied. We have great, great, great fulfillment in glorifying God and seeing God glorified. So I would give this push to you. That's what it is. Don't be discouraged. Things didn't work in the past, but that doesn't mean it's not going to work in the future. So just like the people of Israel and Haggai, they started working. They all worked together, and they got that house of God rebuilt. The temple was rebuilt. And God made this beautiful promise that what was there before was beautiful, but it's going to be even better. So I leave you with that today. Take a time to read Haggai 1 and 2. Be blessed.